Welcome to Athletes, Entrepreneurs, the Alumni Journey. I'm Rob Finkelstein, founder and CEO of Alumni Direct, where we've created a platform to help athletes and other alumni network and connect with each other and tap into various resources into health and finance and career services. But more importantly, we interview former college and professional athletes, and we talk about their transition out of sport into successful business leadership and entrepreneurship. And it's all about inspiring athletes that there is life after sport. Such a major issue today. We're so excited to have Kashawn Fraser. How are you doing, Kashawn?
I'm great. So happy to be here.
Well, that's great. Yeah, we're all happy to have you as well. So Kashawn was a football player. He played at Central Michigan and then played at Henderson State his senior year. And then ultimately had a couple of tryouts in the NFL, but went over and played in the Canadian Football League, the CFL. And he played for both Calgary and Winnipeg. And once he was done with that, or as he was doing that, he kind of saw like, hey, I'm going to be a trainer. I want to help people. So he was working on that as he was playing. And ultimately, he is the founder and CEO of Fitness at Your Door. So Kashawn, talk about playing sports growing up. How did that shape you leading up into college?
I mean, sports has been the pillar of my identity. And at the end of the day, your identity shouldn't be what you do. It should be who you are. But I really feel like sports taught me what only sports could teach you, which is teamwork, discipline, grit, being able to sacrifice for the better good, being able to fit in any room, like you name it. It's taught me so many things that has helped me in leadership and being able to run not only myself to be a successful entrepreneur, but be able to be a leader of others.
Oh, that's great. And I love the whole pillar thing. I think I hear that a lot, but I think that was the first time I heard that on the podcast. That was awesome. Great job on that one. So, let's fast forward. So, when you went to college and, I was at school a lot longer ago than you, but, were there any kind of classes at Central Michigan or then Henderson that kind of talked about that transition out of sport, not just like a one-day workshop, but like a class maybe for a semester or a workshop for a semester?
They actually never talk about it because, the statistics may be higher now, but at least when I was playing and graduated in '08 from high school to about 2012, when you're an athlete, you're the 1%, right? Like probably in college, you say 4 to 5% going to the professional level, then you're the 1%. So when you're going to these classes, you're just kind of like, they see you as a unicorn, but they don't actually talk about how hard it is from going to the classroom to go into maybe professional sports, then going and transitioning to the real world, which is like your degree could be great. You could, spend all the money, take all the education, but applying it into the real world and getting paid for it and getting real fulfillment based off of what you thought you wanted to do when you did a degree compared to what it really is in real life. I don't think there's a playbook for that.
No, I think you're right. And I think that it's tough because you got your kind of nose to the grindstone, but it's something I think that's missing. And I think some schools now, depending on the school, some of the bigger schools are trying to implement programs, but I think it's important to have, have that education, but not only for the current athletes, but even for the alumni athletes as well. Blood, sweat, and tears with your school. And it'd be nice to know that when you're finished playing the game, if you're fortunate enough, like you were to play professionally, to be able to come back to your alma mater and just get that education that you might need, I think is really important.
Right. The nice thing is there's programs like one that I'm a part of. Shout out to Pro Athlete Community, Chip Posek and Caleb Thornhill. They have created something pretty amazing for athletes transitioning to the real world and kind of entrepreneurship or anything you really want to convert into after you get out of professional sports. So there's programs like that where they kind of put like mini accelerators on, and they also give you the support to focus in these different pillars: public speaking, triple net leasing. Do you want to be a coach? You name it. So I think in these professional leagues, I don't know so much about college, but they're now putting a constant intentional focus on what are athletes doing after this? Because you see a lot of times with the mental health issues of players either being suicidal, doing different things, you need to have a focus on. You got to think about a lot of these kids, like a lot of these players have been doing this from kids. This is their routine. This is all they know. If it's not even being talked about, like what if the game gets taken away from you? You can't lose your identity. And I think that's why it's so important to work on your personal development, whether you learn that from a school or not. You need to really focus on some things that I personally focus on, which is self-care, accountability, faith, and execution. And that's kind of a pill. That's like kind of a method I've built. and I talk to a lot of young kids and really young athletes, making sure they're right within, because once the sport leaves you, it's good to take the things that the sport gave you, but not lose your full identity in knowing that you're bigger than that, bigger than the sport, or bigger than the athlete, as LeBron James may say.
Yeah, no, that you're right. You're absolutely right, and that's kind of cool. We'll have to explore more into the pro athlete community later. So let's talk about when you were in school. We always like to talk about networking, connecting. Talk about the importance of doing that while you're still playing the game.
That's everything. You're only good as your last play, right? I think we've all heard that. And as soon as you're not that professional athlete, or you don't have that verified badge on your Instagram, or you're not on the team, nobody really cares to hear about your story anymore. When you're not behind that helmet, or you're not on that court, you're not hitting that baseball, not hitting that soccer, like, it's so important to use your network and your connections while you're the hottest topic, right? Like, you're relevant, right? I think so many players get so caught into the game, which, yes, that should be your main focus, on being the best athlete you possibly could be, but you damn sure should be connecting with every CEO, every partnership that you can, and even asking other players what are they doing in the little off time they have to accelerate their career while they're in it and after it. I know for sure personally, I didn't even do it, because we all think we're gonna retire off of the game, and really, probably 1% do that. Just like 1% going professionals, 1% that actually, once they retire, they really have a choice not to ever work again. Besides the money management, which is a whole different topic. So networking is crucial. A lot of the relationships and the business opportunities I've been able to get is going back to my old network. When I'm trying to expand territories and find trainers in other areas, I'm going back to my former teammates. When I used to train, young athletes and they're really good, and I'm like, hey, let me reach out to my former teammates that are now collegiate coaches that may give you opportunity to give you scholarships. Like, it's not what you know, is who you know, unfortunately. And you know, relationships matter. And I think it's one of the most important things that you could ever learn as an athlete and as a person is you're only as good as valuable as your network is. Not as big as your network is, but it's as valuable it is.
Yeah, and I think the key there is relationship. And, we talk about even getting to know when you're in high school, let's say your teammates, it could be their parents, it could be coaches, just always be open to conversation. I mean, I think, some people get intimidated by it, but I think you just, as long as you take it, I always say take that kind of pay it forward mentality. Yeah. Is that, how can I help you? And I think if you're looking at it that way, it opens it up. And the other thing, I talk about this a lot, but just because somebody maybe has had all this success and they're doing great, and then as a young athlete might be like, well, how can I help them? Well, maybe it's helping their kids, or maybe they just want to relive their glory days of talking to being an athlete. So definitely be open to that. And the other thing that comes up a lot with networking and from an athlete perspective is that you hit on it before. I think all of us, regardless, I was a runner, I ran cross country and track in high school, a little bit in college. But regardless of the sport, a lot of us started playing as young kids, like you talked about, and we play all the way through. And I think there's that kind of like that athlete DNA, and just, you mentioned the team, the leadership, the preparation, everything that goes into that. I find that there's definitely a value in networking across sports. When you were in school and even playing the CFL, it seems like it's kind of siloed, like where the football players network with the football players, basketball, baseball with baseball. What's your thoughts on that? Did you see kind of cross networking in the different sports?
Well, unfortunately, the only way we networked was when we were partying, or when we were passing each other in the weight room. To be honest with you, because you're so isolated with your teams, it's kind of hard to find any other time to work with anybody else, unless you guys went to high school together and you played different sports and end up going to the same college. So, like, you build camaraderie through. You guys might both be in the weight room at the same time, and you see each other, and you keep seeing the same people, and you guys are kind of like chatting it up, like athlete talk. Like, man, we got a day today. I know, like, I see what's on the board, what the workout is. Like, that is the kind of cross networking you did. Besides going to an after party or something that they needed all the teams to be there, and you actually had time to like be present and actually have a conversation with somebody who was outside of your so-called sphere or circle. So unfortunately, I can't personally say say that I had so many conversations with other people on the other teams, but I think it's very much needed because you just get a whole different dynamic and a whole different perspective on life. That's why it's so important to don't don't talk to people who are like you. Talk to people who grew up in a whole totally different place, whole totally different world. And that's no different why people travel, because it's all about opening up your mind and your concepts and your perspective on like what you see life as, because we all see life in our just this little circle that we've just grew up in. But yeah, I
Right,
think
right.
they're probably doing a better job with that stuff now with NIL. You're able to publicly see what are other sports, what are other people taking advantage of, what are other things that you should like. Maybe I should look into that. If the baseball guy got this through writing his own children's book, maybe I should think about that as a football player. So
Yeah,
it's a totally different world than when I played, and it kind of makes me feel a little old. But like the game has changed so much, especially when you're talking about in college.
sure. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, a lot of it too comes into maybe now. I mean, back when I was growing up, there wasn't social media. Social media definitely influences that. But I see, like, we do a monthly networking event amongst our podcast guests that I have, and it's just cool to see all these different athletes across different sports. That when we talk and we're kind of networking together, everybody rolls up the sleeves and like, how can we help each other out and how can we help each other build businesses? But it's cool because again, it's taking, like I said before, that athlete DNA. Like everybody did this and it did that. I mean, different skill set, obviously by sport, but just because you have that commonality of being an athlete, it's great to work together.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's power in numbers and the camaraderie, so it's everything.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about alumni engagement. Obviously, at Alumni Direct, that's something that's near and dear to us. When you were playing at both schools, was there a movement to bring the athletes back and to not just for the homecoming games and all that, but more toward like a mentorship type thing?
Not to say anything bad, but I didn't really see it too much. I'm not gonna lie. I came from a mid major. We had some bigger name athletes that came from our school, but I didn't personally see them come back too much. And that's not a knock to anybody individually. I just could be honest about what I seen coming into college, right? So Joe Staley was one of our guys. Cullen Jenkins, I think, was one of some like older guys who made it. I think they might have donated to things that we did, but like personally, being able to have a conversation with some of these people when you're trying to find your way, and what does it look like to make it to the like the upper room per se, the golden 1%, like where you're actually on the NFL team. Didn't necessarily know that. Like it's not like the Alabamas and the Texases that you got so many guys coming out every year, where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I need to go see Roll Tide, right? I need to come back and be around. So I didn't necessarily see that, and also at that age, my awareness might have not been as high because maybe those guys came sometimes I didn't even
Right.
know who they were because I only played 1 year of high school football, and by the time I got recruited, which they sold me on me being able to play football and basketball. When I was coming in as a freshman, I'm like, how the hell did I even get here? I was like 180 pounds soaking wet. I was a defensive end, and I went over to. I remember it vividly. I went over to the D line because we work in little small intimate groups when we squatting. A former teammate Frank Zombo, he ended up winning a championship with the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers, and he's like, hey, the receivers are over there. So it was like I think they do a great job of trying to get us now, like me alumni, to come back, to show face, talk to the younger guys, tell them all the mistakes you made. Because really, more than anything, is life is full of experiences, and the biggest thing is living through other people's experiences. So the one thing I think about having alumni is not to tell you how good it was. It's like it's to avoid you from the things that are unforeseen, right?
Right.
So that's kind of what I would say about like my alumni experience per se, coming from more of a
Okay.
smaller mid,
Sure. Yeah. And then what about in the CFL? Is there any type of alumni engagement now, or just whether it was like team related or league related?
I think they do a great job with that. What I could say about the CFL, it was very Christian oriented through like our religious groups and the athlete fellowships and stuff. There was a lot of community there as far as camaraderie and how do you get closer to God, and also how do we help each other while we're playing, preparing ourselves for what comes after the game. And how do we get more involved in the community where we're just not just athletes, we're really contributing members to what's going on right in front of our face that we may not know about, right? Especially like I could say example for Winnipeg, a huge native population and a huge homeless population, believe it or not, right? And it was a big initiative for us to like go out there and, the drug addiction, getting people off the streets, like feeding the homeless, having initiatives for where they stayed. That was something that was big on awareness of us understanding about what other people were doing in these spaces, right? Or like former athletes coming in and saying, "Hey, I'm really big in real estate. This is something I would have never known." How do you use your likeness besides NIL to get connected with real estate developers? Because what's your competitive edge? Do they want to hear another boring pitch about why you're trying to get their project, or do they want to hear about your story of how you played professional football and what got you into real estate in the first place? So it's like, how do you leverage what you've already done to get into a space that you've never been in?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So now I always have some fun questions, and you probably didn't get to see any of the previous episodes. So if you can go back in time, okay, kind of a little back to the future, hop on the DeLorean, what advice would you give to freshman Kashawn? 10 words or less.
Freshman in college, don't get a girlfriend. I'm not saying women are like dream killers, but when you're like obsessed with what you're doing, I think the less distractions you have, unless you knew this was going to be your wife, which I think players now are like kind of getting into that a little younger, where they're getting married in college because they just know that's the best, like the formula to stay focused. But I would say not get a girlfriend in 3 words, and I would say network more while you're there. Like I would definitely have seeked like mentorship and people who could talk to me more about business, not just about how bigger, faster, stronger I could have been. Another thing I would have said was younger me. Network more, no girlfriend. And there's one more like really key one I feel like I'm missing. I feel like I used to do this all the time, but put the extra work in. Like
Yeah.
I think that is something that doesn't need to be said, but it does need to be said, because if you put the extra work in and study harder and be coachable, which is another 2 words, the extra work and being more coachable is usually going to put you in a really good place. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
everybody says they put the work in and they train hard, but I'm talking about being the first one there, being the last one to leave, bugging the coaches to like, hey, can I have an extra, study session? Because the better you're a student in the game is the better the game obviously slows down. And I would and recover more, which I think they're doing more of in the game. I mean, methodology for me back when I was a freshman, and also what was kind of preached was, the harder you work, the better results you get. And that wasn't necessarily
Right.
the key to like staying durable, which shows up for you later in your career when you really need it and you're actually getting paid for it.
Yeah, for sure. Now let's fast forward to senior Kashawn. Any different advice in 10 words or less?
Focus on your personal development.
I like that. That's good.
Think anything you do in life is going to start with you. So I believe the pillars, which I talked about, the self-care, taking care of yourself, and I'm not just saying like self-care is just not getting a haircut or doing yoga or working out. Self-care is understanding your emotional triggers, understanding yourself, understanding the people around you, right? Like who's positive, who's negative. Like these are all factoring of things that make you successful. I would say number 2, accountability. You got to be your biggest critic, and you'll never really grow as a person if you're not taking accountability for everything you do and your actions. And I would say faith, because I think if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So I'm a big believer in God. They died on the cross for our sins. And I know I wouldn't have been able to get through a lot of things I've gotten through if I didn't, believe in my Heavenly Father and had somebody to pray to and had somebody to comfort me in a lot of hard times in my life where I made mistakes that, you don't always think you're going to come back from, because one thing life is going to do is going to knock you upside the head plenty of times. And if you don't have something to hold on to or something to believe in, whatever that may be for you, and ground yourself, it's going to knock you down every time. And that's why we're seeing so much suicide. We're seeing so much mental health issues, because there's nothing that you believe in and you think you have no hope, right? And then I would say execution, right? Don't ever give up on your dream or have anybody tell you anything else. If that's your passion and God
Yeah.
gave you that vision to do it, fall forward, because you're going to make a million mistakes, but just continue
Yeah.
to keep moving forward, because he didn't give you that vision to leave you. So I would say anything that's stopping you from taking that step to something that's just tugging at you, and you're having all these self-limiting beliefs of why you didn't start it in the first place, just do it. Because life is too short to think about, damn, what if I would have tried to be the professional athlete? What if I would have tried to start Alumni Direct and build a podcast? Because we always like, damn, this is so much work, because you just never even took the first step to do it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Let's talk about your transition. So, I mean, essentially, you had two transitions, right? You had a transition from playing college ball to going professional, and then ultimately, when your career was over, being professional. So, talk a little bit about that.
So my transition from college to professional, and then professional to the work world, right? Correct?
Yeah.
It was rough. I didn't go professionally right away. So college to the professional world was, I had to take the back door, because I got in trouble in college, tried to transition schools my last year. Then, because there was no NIL and I had like probably 2 credits or 4 credits to finish my degree, I had to go to another school, and pretty much they sell you on a dream that your credits would transfer over. So I didn't even leave school with a degree. So I had to finish a degree online while I was transitioning out of college, even though I took all the credits. So I was,
That's rough.
yeah. So that's just how the system is. It's like, when you want to pay more money, you got to pay more money to, like, finish things, because
Right.
the world's about money. But like, long story short, I went into the real world, didn't get picked up by the NFL right away, which was very discouraging. And then, I ended up getting tryouts, and, I got hurt. And this is when I started working in the gyms, because you go from being a collegiate athlete and being at the apex of, saying you're going to be a late round draft pick. Some mistakes were made, had to learn from that. And you're a young kid, right? You make mistakes. It's all a part of the game. But not letting your mistakes define you, but making your mistakes be something that grows you. It's not about it's not about the mistake you make. It's not about, not what did you learn from it, and not making it again, and being able to tell the story now to other people so they don't make it. So then, as I was transitioning, I was trying to find myself, and I was finding myself in the gym, because people were moving tons of weights, but they weren't actually changing people's lives. And I was trying to become a professional, and I was trying to figure out, how do I do it now that I'm at the college scene? I don't have an agent, I don't have anything. So then I started trying out for the NFL and then the CFL, and I went to a CFL tryout, and literally they pick hundreds of guys. It's a money grab. Everybody pays $100, and they may pick 2 people out of there. I'm talking about people who didn't play, people who played professionally, whatever. So I got an opportunity to try out for Winnipeg. I made it, God's willing. And then I finished my degree online, and I played in the CFL, 3 reconstructive knee surgeries. But in my mind, I always knew I wanted to help people, and fitness was going to be my true calling. Being from a Christian background and my grandparents being missionaries, you know, the 3 most important things to people are their health, their wealth, and their legacy, which are the children, right? So even though I didn't get into so-called ministry, I felt like I was still doing God's work, which was helping people in their most vulnerable place, which is health and wellness. And this is kind of why we started Fitness at Your Door. And then as I was transitioning from football and I got that last knee surgery, I was already training CEOs, literally training the womb to the tomb. And when I was in Calgary, taking an Uber for the first time, even though Uber was out for a few years because I didn't have a car up there. I was like, man, what if I was able to just bring this right to people's doorsteps? Because every time I would build a great clientele in 6 months and then have to go to Canada for 6 months, I had to give up like, all my clients, or the self-limiting beliefs of like who was going to treat my clients how I treat them. They were going to, treat them as another number, etc. And then when I actually finally retired, I was like, I'm going to build an Uber model for personal trainers, which was fitness at your door. So I manifested this years before I actually put it into place. Then I went to Googling, and the app costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I don't got that. I don't know if I could ever, I don't think I could ever start that. So we started matching trainers that people couldn't even see based off of my reputation of being a pretty elite trainer in the space. And fast forward, we have 161 plus trainers across, Florida, and now branching out to other states. And, our model is helping people have more good days. So to tell you about my transition, I don't think it's ever a transition. It's a process. And if you don't,
Okay.
First it starts with belief that whatever you're trying to get done, just go after it. So that was kind of the transition, and still moving forward every day to be the best version I could be as a leader and a founder of the company.
Yeah, everybody faces different transitions. So maybe give some words of advice to athletes as they embark on their next journey after sports.
I think the biggest thing is, and I know everybody says this, don't do it for the money. Yes, we need to make a living, but you got to find something you love, because you're going to quit it when you're making a lot of money or you're not making a lot of money. Because if it's causing you your mental health, if it's costing you your relationships, if it's costing you being in shape as an athlete, like, it's not worth it. Because the money will not, the money. So even when you love something, like even this business, it's cost me a lot of relationships. It's cost me a lot of mental health issues. It's cost me a lot of things, but I love it. It's something that I wake up and I can't stop thinking about. It's something when money is not being made, I'm still going to do it because I know I couldn't see myself doing anything else, right? So you have to have an unwavering belief. Just like how you had a passion to play that sport, whatever you do, you have to have a burning desire to do it, or it just won't work. I would also say for athletes, don't give yourself another option. I know everybody says, "Oh, give yourself options." No, there is no options. When you became a professional athlete, did you give yourself an option to say, if it doesn't work, I'm going to try another sport? That's just not how it works, right? The other thing I would say, find a mentor, find somebody who's made the mistakes. Like, and that's actually pretty hard. I know they say people are so willing to give help, but a lot of people, they want to help you, but they never want you to do better than them. And I'm just my experience. This is all my personal experiences. I'm not saying there aren't mentors out there.
Yeah, that's great. That's
I'm not saying there's not mentors that out there that won't pay it forward, but like, do your best to find somebody and be humble enough to do things for free. So I train in every top facility, picked up weights, had people talk to me crazy. I'm the former professional athlete, you name it, because I wanted to learn and I was hungry to learn. It wasn't about like the ego of like, oh, you got to pay me all this money because I probably did stuff that you've never done before, but like, because you're in this position, you could tell me this. I think a lot of athletes, the biggest hit is your ego. You're nobody anymore. You're just another person. This business world, this ain't the Olympics. This ain't the NFL. This ain't the MLB. This is a whole different world. You feel me? You got so much learning to do, and you're gonna always be learning, because the day you stop learning is the day you die. So I would say take that mindset to know that you're starting over, and that's probably the hardest part, is knowing that what you are gonna take from sports is that grit, and that I don't got to teach you how to work hard, but what I do have to teach you is it's not always working harder. It's working smarter, in a way of, it's about learning, right? And understanding where you're trying to go and what you're trying to accomplish. And you can't just do that through hard work. That's more strategy now, right? So I think that's a few things I would tell an athlete looking to get into the space.
Okay, yeah, great advice there. And I mean, it's important, and that's what this podcast is all about, is just helping and giving ideas, and just again, the people that we speak with. So let's talk now a little bit about fitness at your door. Tell us about the great things you're doing there, and what got you started with that too.
So, I talked about my parents, my grandparents being missionaries, and coming from a Christian background. Sports and athletics have been a foundation for me since I was a kid. From dribbling the basketball without a hoop to moving to Florida and everything, and being about football. And at the end of the day, a coach changed my life. Coaches changed my life, and that's what motivated me to be a coach. I had father figures in my life, but like having a coach talk life into me. And as a young man, it's important to have men talk life into you and give you confidence that you don't ever know what you could be to somebody. Sometimes through experience, like, hey, I know you can't see the future forward, but like, hey, I've been in your shoes before, and you're not going to the NBA. You're 6'3", or you're not 6'3"
Yeah.
yet, or you
Right.
6'3" at your height. You probably should play this sport, and you'll probably really excel at it, right? Played my last year in high school. I had so many coaches that did so much for me that they didn't necessarily get paid for it, but they helped me, and they gave me an opportunity to move forward. And when I seen the way the coach, what he did for me, like mentally, spiritually, and then thereafter physically, I got into the coaching industry. And my mission was to help people have more good days and fit wellness into their lifestyle. They say about 74% of the U.S. is obese, which is crazy. That's a pretty high percentage.
That is crazy.
And yeah, and my mission was just to keep people healthy, because when we have a healthier world, business owners are better, people are having more babies, like people are healthier to like to reproduce, we're eating better, less disease, like just everything in the world happens better. And trying to keep quality health professionals in the industry. Training has become such a commodity now. You don't have to be certified to be a coach. And what I was finding in the industry is that just because you look good, that doesn't mean you're a great coach. And then 80% of trainers will quit in the training industry within 2 years due to unsustainable schedules and minimum wage pay. So I was one of those coaches, highly qualified, and I could never get people to pay me my worth. And then once I kind of got behind the mental recipe and, kind of put that formula behind like getting people to commit, I was like, how do I do this for other coaches? And we started with one coach. We built a network and an ecosystem that kind of became like an Uber model, I say, for personal trainers, in the sense that, you have a marketplace where you can pick a specific niche of coach to come right to your doorstep or wherever you want, park, gym, or home. And that transitioned to a lot of different things, which was apartment buildings, HOAs, corporate companies, like you name it. We're Step Up approved up here in Florida, where kids could, homeschool and private school kids can pay for training through their scholarship tuition, because PE really isn't a thing. So it's training, but it's so dynamic in all the different type of people we can serve. And now we're a fitness company and a wellness company, but essentially we're a tech company that is connecting people with the top health professionals, in the US and eventually internationally, that can come right to you at the convenience in your time and location for your specific niche, for your specific, you know, personality that can help you get to your goal.
Okay. Now, is there some type of a set curriculum, or it's basically customized to each individual?
It's customized to each individual. So when we're matching, whether manually or through the software, you get to look up their bio, you get to look up where they came from, their certifications, their degrees, ethnicity, like their specific niche on how they train people. And then once they get your information, you fill out some type of medical history form. They customize a plan that is specific to you, right? So if you're a woman dealing with postpartum, that coach is only going to work with women going and working in postpartum, and they'll put a program tailored to you.
Okay. And then is it so you have both a mobile app as well as like on site on the
Yeah,
computer?
so we have a website. We're in the process of rebuilding our app to make it more user friendly, because those things constantly have to be updated.
Sure.
We're looking to launch nationally this year and find as many coaches as possible that have a burning passion to help people, want to have a freedom of schedule and not be, locked to the gym, right? They could work how they want on their time, be paid what they want to be paid, because people are out there looking for them, but they just don't know what they look like. And that's what our platform's about.
So that so the trainers can kind of set their rates, and then that's based on people that match up to who they want, and that's what they would pay.
Correct. That's where we're going to. Right now we set the rates because we're kind of doing everything as far as the matchmaking, the intaking of the client. And some clients want it that way because when you're starting in your journey, sometimes you don't know what you're looking for. So we kind of help them. Hey, based off of what you're telling me, you need Rob. I believe, Kashawn's a good fit because he's worked with people that hurt their lower lumbar and have had multiple back injuries or, whatever the case may be. He has this certain certification on this. We kind of, we take a concierge approach, right? I see us as a concierge wellness company.
Okay, that's great. And so everybody, you got to go to Kashawn and his team. They're gonna get you in great shape. So how can people find you?
Well, I'm all over social media, every network you can think of. You could look up Fitness at Your Door. It's exactly how it's spelled, Fitness at Your Door. I don't think you'll forget it. We come to you. My name's Kashawn Fraser, so you'll probably see me on the page. So you won't miss me. I'll probably be showing a workout, or you'll see on other trainers, or amazing transformations, and seeing how we're changing people's lives day by day and helping people have more good days.
That's great. So you're going to see that nice smile. He's got that great smile, but he's going to work you
Yeah.
hard. He's going to work you hard.
With a smile.
So there you go. I love it. So you can find us at alumnidirect.com. The Athletes Entrepreneurs Alumni Journey is on our YouTube channel, as well across Spotify and Apple on audio. And each week I end this with, we're always, I call them nuggets, but just looking for great advice from these athletes who've transitioned out of sports successfully, and to just really help as many athletes as we can. So Kashawn, this has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And if you're a coach looking to be on a platform that take your expertise to the next level, please reach out to us. We would love to have you.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for another great episode.
All right. Awesome.